Previously on the Ducks. Okay, what we've done here is challenge another YouTuber to an OOTP 23 challenge where we've picked a team of 23 and unders against his team of 34 and olders. Today we're bringing you the highlights of that simulation in our typical knowledgeable but half-drunk fashion. More details after the credits. To the Dugs. I'm Johnny Paprika. Everything we do here is an excuse to tell a lot of baseball stories and a lot of jokes. So if that sounds interesting to you, stay in the know and help us grow with a shiny free of charge subscription to our channel. Last week we showed you who we have selected on our team of players under the age of 24. On the same day, Baseball Dreamland released a video on his channel going over his crusty old team of 34 and olders. The link to that video is in the description, and if you're gonna go over there, check out his other stuff. A lot of real-life teams would benefit from this guy at the helm, so go bathe yourself in the man's knowledge. This video is gonna pit those teams against one another in unholy combat to see if Generation Z can overcome their addiction to social media before the icy hot kicks in for the other side. Let's get into the action, shall we? The first game is gonna feature Shane Baz against Clayton Kershaw. Now, this isn't technically a postseason game, so Kershaw may actually perform his role as a pitcher. Kershaw's no stranger to being young at some point, as he sped through the Dodgers farm system in a single season and joined the Major League club before he could legally drink at the age of 20. He has steadily increased in age since that season, however, and now sits at the unthinkable old age of 34. He's the grandnephew of Clyde Tombaugh, who was the astronomer who discovered Pluto, which, as you know, is no longer a planet, so I imagine it feels a lot like frequently leading your team to the playoffs only to predictably start falling apart nearly every time it matters most. For the youngsters on Team Dugs, Shane Baz will be hurling our balls. He made his way over to Tampa Bay as a player to be named later. No word on what his parents called him prior to that trade, but seriously, I've never heard of a player to be named later turning into someone as feared as Baz currently is. That's like getting a silo-sized sprinkle on your cupcake. Jumping into the top of the first, youngster coach Oliver Marmol has surprised me a bit by sliding Andre Jimenez into the leadoff spot. I was expecting him off the bench, so we didn't say much about him in our last video. Well, might as well talk about him a little. Nah, you know what? You gotta earn your blurb, Andre. Kershaw also K's Juan Soto, so we're off to a blazing start. But then Vlad Guerrero Jr. says, "You can keep your damn metric system, I'm going yard." Team Dugs hits the scoreboard first, it's 1-0. Baz retires the 34 and olders in the bottom half of the inning in order, and so we're going to jump into the second. Youngsters have men on the corners with 2 outs, and he's going to ground in the direction of one of the best defensive players in the game in Brandon Crawford, and ha-ha! Baseball is a cruel-ass mistress. 2-0 kiddos. They actually load the bases back up, but Juan Soto, who I sang the praises of in our prior video, strikes out in the second consecutive inning. On to the bottom of the second. It's all good, Baz is dealing. After requiring all of 5 pitches to get out of the first, he gets Paul Goldschmidt wildly waving his club at the ball, Justin Turner looking like he's playing cricket, and Donovan Solano checking out the ball's laces. Those are some nice laces. Player to be named later, my ass. His name is Shane Baz, and he is your daddy. Just because I love immediately stealing my thunder, we're going to go to the bottom of the third. This is Jason Castro for the old guys, cutting Team Dugs' lead in half. It's 2-1. Castro played his high school ball at Castro Valley High School. You can't make this stuff up. The valley was not named after Jason Castro, but rather Don Guillermo Castro, a career soldier in the Mexican Army. He was granted over 26,000 acres as a reward for this service, where he kept over 4,000 sheep, 500 horses, and 7 kids. Information that I got from Wikipedia, and I just loved the phrasing of it so much I had to share it. Speaking of Wikipedia, I checked out Jason Castro's page as well. Says here he played varsity basketball for the legendary Coach Burns. I'm guessing Coach Burns' other hobby is making updates to Jason Castro's Wikipedia. Things settle down a bit at this point in the game as both pitchers lock in a bit, so we'll move forward to the top of the fifth. Don't look now, but Juan Soto's done something. Let the record show I never lost faith in him for a second. He leads off the fifth with a double off of Kershaw and advances to third with one out on a sac fly from Vlad Guerrero. That brings Fernando Tatis Jr. to the plate, and what's this? A balk! It's a balk! Soto comes home to score. It's 3-1 to the Dogs kids. Errors at shortstop and Clayton Kershaw balks. It's this kind of hard-hitting action you come to the Dogs YouTube channel for. Shane Baz makes it through 6 and a third, racking up 7 strikeouts and only allowing a single run to these geriatrics. Here's him closing out the 6th by striking out AJ Pollock and striking out Joey Votto. Say it with me and say it loud. His name is Shane Baz. Now go apologize to that librarian. Before we get into who replaced Baz, we still have the top of the 7th to deal with, and Juan Soto must have heard me cracking wise about him earlier, because he lights up Clayton Kershaw for a 409-foot home run. It's now 4-1 Team Dogs. Replacing Baz, it's, It's you know what? I'm not gonna research the pronunciation. Gonna wing it. Oscar, comes in for Shane Baz. He has a bout of wildness in the 7th, including a walk and a hit by pitch. Careful, Oscar, these guys are old. They're likely to break a hip. But he gets out of the 7th and continues into the 8th. But AJ Pollock takes him deep for a solo shot. Old men are still in it. It's 4-2. That's where the score stands going into the bottom of the 9th. Oliver Marvel has decided to use Edward Cabrera as my closer. He made his debut last year after making his way through the minors on teams like the Batavia Muck Dogs, the Greensboro Grasshoppers, the Jupiter Hammerheads, and the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, so he's just annihilating the name game. Paul Goldschmidt reached to start the inning, but my defense up the middle says, "Hey, Brandon Crawford, here's how you field a ground ball." It goes 4-6-3, and we're 1 out away from victory. Justin Turner reaches on a walk, but it takes all of 3 pitches to get Donovan Solano down on strikes and chalk one up for the young guys. Our guys wanted to play the second game of the series on the same day, but alas, it was time for the 34 and olders to grab an early bird special, watch some Matlock, and go to bed. So the squads reconvened the next day for Game 2. We're shifting from the oldest park in the majors to the youngest as we hit Team Doug's home stadium of Globe Life Field. The Rangers explained that the old park in Arlington struggled to bring the fans in that other stadiums in major metropolitan areas brought in due to the heat, so they needed to build a new one with a retractable roof. They may be right about that heat, as in the month of December, the roof caught fire during the new stadium's construction. While they may have been right about the heat, they may have been wrong about why no one comes to see the Rangers. The inaugural season managed just over 26,000 fans in attendance per game. This season thus far, that number is short of 25,000. Those two marks are in line with, or worse than, the lowest marks that a Rangers stadium have put up in this millennium. Game 2 features Max Scherzer from Team Ben Gay and Ian Anderson from Team Cringe YOLO. Extra credit to Scherzer as he hits the roster at the current age of 37. He's one of 5 pitchers that can claim that they've started an all-star game for both the American League and National League. He's also completely insane. I was going to go into some of the best Scherzer stories, but I could not possibly outdo the comprehensive video that Baseball Doesn't Exist did on the topic. It's 15 minutes long with little to no filler that just goes through a rapid-fire list of, maybe, everything insane that this man has done. I'll leave a link to that video in the description. However, I'll add one recent event just to provide a little bit more color. On Japanese Heritage Night, the Japanese ambassador to the US was to throw out the first pitch. Now, to be fair, it does seem as if the ambassador was a little late to the mound for his pitch, but still. Scherzer has activated business time, so it is business time. I like to think that the ambassador took one look at the intensity in Scherzer and just ran the other way rather than risking interrupting his warm-ups. Part of the reason we don't want to step on the toes of the Baseball Doesn't Exist video is that we pride ourselves on doing things differently here at the Ducks. So, here's a couple anecdotes that paints Scherzer in a less psychotic shade. He's adopted dogs that also have heterochromia. And, as tough as he is, here's Scherzer getting blown over by a stiff breeze. Mad Max my ass. Opposing this old puppy dog will be Ian Anderson. Ian Anderson is a Scottish musician that serves as the frontman of Jethro Tull. True story. Fortunately, there's also a much younger Ian Anderson that fits snugly within the age range that I'm playing with that also knows how to throw baseballs. Last year, our boy won a World Series ring with the Braves, and went 5 no-hit innings in Game 3. Let's get it on. 1 out into the top of the first, and he's lost his no-hit bid already as Brandon I Can't Field Ground Balls Crawford singles to record the first hit for Team Baseball Dreamland. This is followed by a single by AJ Pollock putting runners on the corners, and Paul Goldschmidt puts the old bastards on the board with a rocket of a ground ball, and so Team Dugs is looking at our very first deficit of the series. Momentum for Team Bingo Night continues into the second. First 2 men of the inning single, and we're calling Jason Castro's name again. This one's a 3-run shot, and it's 4-0. They keep rolling and end up with the bags loaded and only 1 out, but both Votto and Goldschmidt go down on strikes. Still, it's 4-0, and I hate Jethro Tull. I'm just kidding, Jethro Tull's alright. 4 pitches into the third, they've already got a man on first, and just like my uncle after the court order, that ball is nowhere near the inside of a park any longer. That closes the book on Ian Anderson's day, and it was a shitty one. 2 innings pitched, 6 earned runs surrendered. It's not over yet, however. In the bottom of the third, Team Dugs has managed to load up the bases with no one out, and Soto cracks the scoreboard first. Keibert Ruiz is a catcher, so he won't score from second, and we only get 1 run. And somebody needs to get the man some oxygen. No worries, Keibert, you can trot home as Scherzer walks Vlad Guerrero Jr. to make it 6-2. Tatis Jr. follows that up with a single, and the conga line keeps going. It is 6-3, and I have slid a few inches further forward in my chair. Scherzer does manage to record an out, but Wander Franco makes his out useful with a sac fly scoring Juan Soto. That caps off the inning, but we've cut it to 2 at 6-4, and we have a ball game on our hands. The 6-4 mark doesn't last long, as Keibert Ruiz, fresh off the realization that it's much more pleasant to run around the bases at his own pace, hits a 2-run home run, and we are all even at 6. Now, Scherzer's got a history of refusing to be taken out of a game, so I'm not sure if that's what's happening here or if La Russa has just passed out in the dugout, but Team Geriatric chooses to keep him in. Runners get to the corners with 2 outs, and Scherzer throws it away on a pickoff move to first, and that gives Team Dugs their first lead at 7-6. Meanwhile, Scar is back and out for blood. In the interest of accuracy, let's all try a new pronunciation of his name for every strikeout he recorded. We're bound to stumble on the correct one eventually. Huashar! Weshar! Uascar! Hasha! Eno! Yeah. I know way. Somewhere in there, we absolutely nailed it. You're gonna have to forgive me. If you watched our previous video, you may have heard me mention that my progress on these videos were slowed in part by my first bout with COVID. You may also have been able to hear it in my voice. Well, I am fully recovered and am enjoying once again being able to make stupid noises with my mouth. Probably a little too much. Anyhow, Scar comes in and dominates, racking up 8 strikeouts and surrendering only 3 hits over 3 1/3. One of those hits, however, was this solo shot from, you guessed it, Jason freaking Castro. So both teams have scored a touchdown and we've got ourselves a barn burner. Things settle down a bit as Chapman comes in for the old guys and Edward Cabrera comes in for the younger guys and string together some solid innings. So our football score holds true until the bottom of the 7th, when Fernando Tatis Jr. launches the ball for a 2-run home run. Team Dogs is up late. It's 9-7. I generally try to avoid foreshadowing or spoilers, but I feel like I have to tell you straight up. Aaron Ashby is about to shit the bed. Aaron Ashby's used to shitting the bed, which I guess is on me for not doing a little bit more research. In his debut in 2021, he recorded 2 outs while giving up 7 runs. Let's see what he does here. Walk. Hit by pitch. Hit by pitch. Joey Votto makes him pay with a double, scoring Lorenzo Cain and Brandon Crawford, so we're all tied up at 9 and there's still nobody out. Goldschmidt is intentionally walked to load up the bases, which is a great idea when you've shown absolutely no ability of, oh my goodness, it worked. Michael Brantley grounds into a double play, including getting the run out at the plate. So we remain tied and Ashby has a chance to get out of it. But he doesn't. Justin Turner comes up huge with the line drive. Votto's going to score. Goldschmidt is going to score. Just one inning after going up 9-7, Team Dugs finds themselves down 11-9. It's still not over, however. In the bottom of the 8th, after 2 singles and a walk, the bases are once again juiced for the youngins with nobody out and Juan Soto at the plate. That looks like it's deep enough to get a run home. And it is! We've shaved the lead down to 1. Also key is Keibert Ruiz moving up to 3rd on the sac fly. Vlad Guerrero up next, and he hits it deep enough to get the run home, and Keibert scores to tie the game. That's where we sit in the bottom of the 9th. I know it sounds redundant, but the bases are yet again juiced. There's 1 out, and Andre Jimenez is at the plate. Andre makes solid contact, and let's see. It's Julio Rodriguez at 3rd base, so he's got some wheels, and no! He's called out trying to score. That's Lorenzo Cain in center field with an absolute massive throw to put the game into extras. Hamish, get my bourbon. This is one hell of a game. Old guys don't score in the top of the 10th, so we'll move forward to the bottom half of the inning. At some point in our timelines, we've drifted into the H.P. Lovecraft timeline, and so the youngsters start with Andre Jimenez at 2nd. Kenley Jansen is in there for his 2nd inning of work, and that goes to the backstop. Winning run moves over to 3rd with no one out, and Vladdy Guerrero Jr. is up. He's got one up in the air. Is it deep enough? Yes, it is! Like X-Men's Colossus teabagging one of his enemies, we've sacked them to death. 12-11 is your final, and it's a clean 2-game sweep for Team Dugs. Woo! That might be one of my favorite games that we've run on here. If you enjoyed how we went about this, make sure to check out our first season of experimental baseball tournaments, as this is generally the format that we run those in. We're going to kick off a 2nd season this summer. And so, a little announcement on that front. This will very likely be the last video that we post prior to the release of Season 2. I've fallen a bit behind on that, as in addition to catching the aforementioned COVID, the motherboard on my computer fried not once, but twice, so that set me back a bit. I figured the best decision now is to set aside these off-season videos we've been doing and make sure that season gets out ASAP. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you're notified when Season 2 goes live. It's this red button right over here, and hitting it helps us out a lot. It doesn't cost you a cent, so please consider doing it. Once the season starts up, we'll be posting 4 days a week for a few months to play the tournament out. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you all are too. Once again, big thanks to Baseball Dreamland for collaborating with us on this one. Go check his Twitch and YouTube out, which are linked below. He's a great baseball mind and might be just the thing you're looking for if you thought my yelling of "Whoo!" Oscar's name was too much and you want something a little bit more analytical. So that does it for me. As always, I've been Johnny Paprika, hoping all your balls are fair and all of your wood is good. See you in Season 2, everybody!